Fox Sports analyst, played in the NFL, was a scout in the NFL, and he's a guy I trust, gives me all sorts of insight. Bucky Brooks is now joining us live, also a high school football coach in L.A. All right, so you've been on this thing for a couple years that Brady's kind of a shot fighter, and I will say this, despite the weapons, they are not an elite offense right now. They're 21st in third down conversion rate, 21st in yards per play. So do you feel like, again, to double down, that this Brady can take this offense only so far?
I mean, he's limited, but I think he has enough weapons around him to be able to be successful. I think what you have now is without a preseason, you have Tom Brady and Bruce Arians trying to figure out the best way to put together this offense. Tom Brady's very comfortable working the middle of the field. He's very comfortable doing the things that he did in New England for years. Short, intermediate passing game, crosses running over the middle of the field, really keeping everything inside the numbers. Bruce Arians is a vertical guy. He wants to push the ball down the field. He wants to get big chunk plays and do those things. I think what's interesting, Tom Brady has been willing to push the ball down the field. He's been moderately successful doing that. I think where Tom Brady gets in trouble is in critical situations. He still hasn't developed that trust with his guys. We saw against the Bears, critical downs. He went to Rob Gronkowski, who is not necessarily the same player that he once was. As he continues to settle in, this offense will improve, but it's going to be a work in progress the first 3 quarters of the season.
Cleveland's 4-1. Greg Cosell said yesterday Baker's playing too fast. He's the second lowest graded Cleveland player offensively, according to Pro Football Focus. What do you see from him?
I mean, I think Kevin Stefanski's done an outstanding job of putting together this offense. This offense is one that really utilizes the running game first to set up Baker Mayfield. Baker Mayfield, and the way they're using him, they use Baker Mayfield to pass very early in the game. Because everyone comes in and knows that they have to defend the Browns' rushing attack, the Browns throw the ball more in the first half because they get those 8-man fronts. They're able to work one-on-one outside to Odell Beckham Jr. and Jarvis Landry. He gets the ball out. They run out to leads. And then in the second half, they really lean on the running game. The key will be for Baker Mayfield going forward, what happens when the game is played on even terms in the second half? Is he good enough to make enough plays when they know they need him to make them to get it done? If he can do that, then this Browns team is going to be a team that not only competes in the AFC North, they may win the AFC North, but a lot of it will be how well does Baker Mayfield play in the second half of games that are within one score.
Le'Veon Bell, you're a former scout. Does Le'Veon Bell add anything to the Chiefs? Does he have anything left in the tank?
He absolutely has something left in the tank. I think what we will see here is the difference between coaches and how coaches can elevate players and how coaches will take players and put them in a scheme that really enhances their talents. We heard Adam Gase talk about it's irrelevant whether I use Le'Veon Bell right or wrong. Well, I don't understand. I've never been around any coach that takes that approach. In Kansas City, Le'Veon Bell gives them what they need. They need a big body back that can run it, but also catch the ball out of the backfield. And I know people will talk about Le'Veon Bell slowing down, not showing the same burst. But if you go back and look at how he played in Pittsburgh, he never was an explosive or dynamic runner. He was creative, he was patient, and he had an offensive line that allowed him to do so. But even beyond that, he's an outstanding pass catcher and route runner. Andy Reid has never had a pass catcher like this at his disposal. We will see more empty formations where Le'Veon Bell is isolated. That will allow Pat Mahomes to be able to read the defense and really see what the defense is doing. I think this could take an offense that is already explosive and really make them unstoppable because Le'Veon Bell is a chess piece that they haven't had. It would be really fun to see how Andy Reid uses him.
Everybody sold their stock when the Ravens lost to the Chiefs. I did not, but I don't think they're quite as dynamic offensively. The numbers belie that. What do you make of Baltimore's offense this year?
The Baltimore Ravens have to be careful that they don't deviate too far from their DNA. I saw the stats that you put up there about Lamar Jackson not running as much, not being as big of a part of the running game. And what happens is when the Baltimore Ravens try to play traditional football, they come back to the pack.
Yeah.
When they play the way that they played, which is unorthodox, unusual for an NFL team, that makes them different than others. Lamar Jackson is a terrific runner. He won the MVP not only because of what he did as a passer, but because of what he did as a playmaker in the running game. They have to make sure that they feature him as the runner in the running game. And I know people talk about you don't want him exposing the hits. He's your franchise quarterback. But part of the reason he became your franchise quarterback is because of his ability to run the ball. He has to be a runner. He has to be factored in. Greg Roman can't make this team a pass-centric team. They're built to run. They have to run it because they do it better than anybody else in football.
Only a minute left, but we know Dak's better than Andy Dalton. But Dalton is only 32 years old, and he is a point guard who passes well. Not a great scorer, but a good passer, right? He's a distributor. Is Andy Dalton 75, 80% of Dak? Is that fair?
Man, you're really generous because I've seen you throw out this stat all week about Andy Dalton's first 4 years. Well, Colin, that was like 6 years ago. He hasn't played at that level since. I will say this. Andy Dalton is a serviceable fill-in for Dak Prescott. Andy Dalton, if everything is clean around him, he absolutely can be a pass-first point guard. But what you're doing is you're disrespecting the strides that Dak Prescott has made this year. He was on pace to have over 6,000 passing yards. The last 2 years, he's proven that he can be a very effective passer. Andy Dalton can kind of keep the ship afloat, but what they need to do is scale back the amount of passes, keep them on a pitch count, 32 passes or less, run Ezekiel Elliott more, and they need their defense to step up. They absolutely can win the division, but it will be because of the other pieces instead of Andy Dalton leading the way.
All right. All right. That sounds good. Sounds more accurate than my take on it. I appreciate that. Bucky Brooks, give a shout-out to your high school. It's Grenada Hills?
Granada Hills Charter, John Elway, our most prominent alumni. Our booster, he hooked us up. Got us helmets and shoulder pads this year. We're going to look like a brand new squad.
Wow. How about that's great to hear. And here's the head coach. Good seeing you, Bucky. I like what he said. That was a good way to say it. He said, keep Andy on a pitch count. That was a good metaphor. That's exactly right. I didn't think of that. If you keep Andy Dalton on a pitch count, 32 throws or less, like Baker to me is 27 or less, Andy's 32. Dak, you could give 40 and he'll make stuff happen.
Well, you have to game plan for the talent that you have.
Yeah, I like that. Keep Andy Dalton on a pitch count. Because I got a reputation of being critical of Andy Dalton because everybody called him the Red Rifle. And I'm like, whoa, 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 whoa. Guys like Andy Dalton don't get nicknames. You can't. Matty Ice is a little much, but he did win an MVP. You don't get a nickname as a quarterback unless you have an MVP.
Is that the standard now?
It's my standard. You get a nickname if you're a legend. Jay Cutler doesn't get a nickname. That's the way it works. Check engine light comes on. Don't freak out. Carshield.com. Code HERD. 10% off with the code. A warranty when yours runs out. Jimmy Johnson, the legend, next.